What's going on, everybody? It is Johnny TCG coming back at you with another One Piece decklist and gameplay video. I'm happy to see you back. Today I've got some gameplay of Boa Hancock versus Jewelry Bonney, two of the more exciting OP07 leaders for me. Now, the Boa list I'm running is pretty standard. The only thing that you'll notice really is that I'm not running any of the 4-cost Dracula Mihawks from Starter Deck 3. I took those out, but I do think that there might be a place for them. I run a lot of removal, and so 4 Gum Gum Red Rocks might seem a little overkill. I've got 3 Gravity Blade Raging Tigers. These cards are so good in this deck, especially in the Bonney matchup, which you'll see in the gameplay shortly. The spiciest tech I have in this deck is probably the 3000 Worlds. I got 2 of them. This isn't a card that I see get a ton of play in Boa decks, but I think it's pretty nifty, just a forward on investment to get rid of a 5-cost. I like that deal. The boss monsters in this deck are the Kaidos. I have 2 different 10-drop ones. I definitely prefer the bounce back Kaido to the draw 4 Kaido, but really it is just about how helpful were the 4 cards I just drew. If I play this Kaido and I draw cards with no counter and I really need to counter, then I am screwed. But if I draw a ton of counter, wow, this is huge, So I do need to think a little bit more about ratios and if I want to add any other top end to this deck, like the 9-cost Dracula Mihawk. Before we get in the gameplay, I don't have a custom leader for you today, but I am giving away this custom Don card. The art is from One Piece Colorwalk. I'm just doing these for fun right now. These aren't for sale. I didn't make the artwork. As you can see, the production quality on them isn't the highest. It's got this dope holographic foil though, and I'm giving it away for completely free. All you have to do is like and comment on this video, and if this video gets 12 likes in the first day, I'll send it to you absolutely free. Just US based people only, unfortunately. Now let's get into the gameplay. Alright, let's get into our first game. I decide to mulligan my first hand, which in hindsight I disagree with. I liked that first hand, but we'll make the most out of this new one. They're going to go double Searcher this first turn. Now I'm at 3 Don. I'm going to swing 5 into lead. They take it, not super surprising, and then I'm going to play out the 3-cost Don Quixote do Flamingo blocker to set the top of my deck. A lot of cards that will be useful here. I don't have a ton of counter in hand, so seeing that the Crocodiles is great. The Sengoku will help me find more, and that Gravity Blade Raging Tiger will also be helpful as they have a couple of different cards that I can target it with. So I set the 10-cost Kaido to the top. I'll be getting through those cards eventually. I think maybe having the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger or one of the Crocodiles first may have been better, but alas, we will survive. On their searches, they get the 10-drop Do Flamingo from their Baby 5, and then their Jewelry Bonney search gets them a Basil Hawkins from OP07. We take a hit from leader. We're not going to use the Gum Gum Rain trigger, and they pass it to me. I'm going to go Jinbei into Weevil, and then with 1 Don, I can use Sengoku Searcher. I decide to swing 4 into Baby 5. That was a misplay. I should have swung with my leader, but alas, it dies anyway. I'm going to use the Sengoku Searcher to get the 2k. Now I've bottom decked that Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, but not a big deal. I play plenty of them. I'm going to 2k counter out of this leader swing into my Do Flamingo blocker. They're going to do a Bonney search and get another Bonney, this time the OP07 Bonney. Then they're going to search for a Basil Hawkins from OP07, and then deploy Rouge, I believe is how you pronounce it. Luckily, I have the Boa Hancock 6-drop that I can play, KO one of their Bonnies, then their Rouge can't attack next turn, even though it probably wouldn't have anyway. I'm going to swing 6 into life with Weevil, they counter out of it. Now I'm going to go 2 into the Bonney with my Sengoku, and now it is 6 into lead with my leader, and they take. Now, they've got a pretty big hand going on right now, so it may be a pudding turn next turn. They swing 7 into my Jinbei, and I'm just going to block with this. I might as well keep the higher power character on the board. I have a couple different options here. I do run 3000 Worlds in my deck, which not a ton of people do. I go with the pudding, which makes them put a lot of cards back into their deck. Then I use 3000 Worlds to bottom deck the Rouge, and I'm going to swing 8 with Boa into their lead. Now I could swing with Leader and Jinbei, and so I'm going to swing Leader. I expected them to block that, but they don't, and so I'm not even going to swing with Jinbei because they'd just be able to get the free block with Basil Hawkins. 7,000 into Weevil. I'm going to Gum Gum Rain, get rid of one of my 10-drop, draw 4 Kaidos to save it, and now they're going to go 5 into lead. I take this hit. Maybe I could have countered out. Let me know in the comments if you think it really matters. I don't really think it does. Now I've got a couple of different options here. I can go 10 cost Kaido to send back to hand maybe their Cavendish or Basil Hawkins. Or I can do the draw 4 Kaido, which will give me a pretty big hand. I'm going to get my swings in. They're letting them go through. I'm not going to block with that one Hawkins yet. They do end up finally taking one. And I think I decide I am going to go with the... I'm going to do the 4-drop. Now I've got a ton of cards in hand. I see the Gum Gum, the Red Rock, which would be great to get rid of some of their characters off board, some of their bigger bodies like Eustace Kid from OP01 or Don Quixote do Flamingo, which we see right now. But I didn't really draw a lot of counter, which is pretty rough. Here I'm debating on whether or not to save the Jinbei. I don't. That swing would have been nice, because now they're going to put the pressure on with their Hawkins, which I did not expect. And it catches me off guard. I don't have any counter. That is one of the risks you run when playing the 10-drop draw 4 Kaido, is that if you get a lot of counter and answers for your next turn, that's great. But if you don't get a lot of counter, you are pretty vulnerable. I'm going to swing into the Cavendish because I don't want them to utilize the restanding 2 Don. And then I'm going to Gum Gum Red Rock the Don Quixote do Flamingo. Here I play the Sengoku, but I do this out of order. I should have done my 3-drop do Flamingo first so that I could set the top of my deck, or set those cards to the bottom, because here I'm looking for a 2k counter. And so that's a little bit of a silly play on my part. But we live and we learn. It is still early in the OP07 format, still getting to learn this Boa deck, so it is what it is. They have the Hody Jones, which rests my Dofi blocker. They're going to go 7 into lead. I can get out of this. I take it in order to just get more cards in hand. They're actually going to be end up putting me to my limit. Now, it was very unlucky with the 10-drop Kaido. And yeah, so they take game one. It was a great game though. And of course, we're going to have to hit them with the rematch. I think that we played pretty well that game, besides a couple of small misplays. And knowing those now, I'm feeling much more confident going into game two. They comment on how the matchup is hard for them. And I think that is the general consensus, is that Boa Hancock has the advantage into Bonney in this format. I get to choose the turn order, and I am going to choose to go second. No 2-down plays for me, so I pass. I imagine they'll draw with their baby 5 searcher, and they're just going to get another baby 5. They're going to swing 5 into life, and I am going to counter early so that I can recycle those cards with Gecko, and then also make sure that I have a low hand size so I can get the most out of my leader's effect. I'm going to swing 5 into one of the baby 5s with leader. That gets KO'd, and then you love to see it, the Jinbei into the Don Quixote do Flamingo. I really like the top deck I got here. I have a pretty bricked up hand, not a lot of counter, which isn't good, but I'm going to have a strong consecutive turns after this, being able to chain together some Boa Hancocks, and then also the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. 5 in the lead, I'll take this. I'm looking for some counter. I get 1,000 in counter from the Dofi blocker. They're going to play the Cavendish. And I'm going to go 5 into lead with my leader. I don't think it really makes a difference who I swung with first. They're going to use leader ability to rest my Jinbei and counter out of that. Now I'll play 6-cost Boa Hancock to freeze the Cavendish and bottom deck the baby 5. Lets me draw a card. They're going to go 5 into Jinbei. I'm thinking about maybe trying to save this, and I just actually used the blocker. I want to keep some counter because I don't really have much else. They're going to play out the Jewelry Bonney Searcher and draw a Basil Hawkins. They've still got 5 down to work with, and they're going to play into Rouge. I'm at 8 Dawn. I could go for another Boa Hancock play. I think I should have done Gravity Blade Raging Tiger and done that on Rouge and Cavendish, because when they block, now I won't be able to get as much value from the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. It's no big deal though, because I can use one of my 6-drop Boa Hancocks to freeze the Cavendish again and then bottom deck the Bonney. I'm going to go 7 into lead first. And it hits. Now I'm going to do 6-drop Boa. Freeze Cavendish, bottom deck Bonney. That is an absolutely awesome card. Especially in this matchup, them not being able to get value out of that Cavendish is huge. They're going to give 2 Dawn to leader and swing 7 at Jinbei. I'm going to let it die. Then they're going to play the Basil Hawkins. I'm going to swing 8 with one of my Boas. They're going to use leader ability and rest my other Boa. They block with the Basil Hawkins. And now I have 10 Dawn. I can play a Kaido, or I can Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, both of the cards they played or they have on field. So I'll go 5,000 at lead. They 2k out of that. And it is important that I do the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger first, because if I played that Dofi blocker first, they would have been able to rest it and the Hawkins would not have been bottom decked. Now this is what I like to see: a ton of 2K counters and a 6-drop Boa Hancock. If I play one of the 10-drop Kaidos next turn, I will get plenty of counter. You love to see that. They're going to go with the Hody Jones, rest my Doflamingo, and they're going to swing 6 into it with their leader. That is fine with me. And now they're going to swing 9 into a Boa. Luckily, I can save it, and I 2K counter out of it with Crocodile. I'm going to go 8 into the Hody with my Boa. Let me know if you think that's the right decision. I could pop it back with my 10-drop Kaido, but I'm not sure if I really want to give it back to them in hand. I think that, I mean, it would make them have to use Don, which is great, but he's kind of a menace, so I would ideally like to get him off the board. Not surprisingly, they do have the 2K to get out of that, but I'm going to play another Boa Hancock, and I'm going to freeze it, so at least it won't be swinging on me this turn. They're going to go 6 into me. I have to take this. I get the Sengoku. Then they're going to play the 8-drop Rosinante, which lets them send out the 5-cost Jewelry Bonney from OP07. That was a really nice turn by them. I have a couple of options here. I think I'm going to 10-drop Kaido. It's just a matter of which one I want to do. And if I play the bounce back Kaido, do I want to send back their Rosinante or their Hody Jones? I'm going to start by swinging 8 into the Rosinante. You probably just get a card out of hand. They do. They have a 2K for it. Now I'm going to swing 5 into lead. They take the hit. And it's tempting to play the bounce back Kaido, but I feel like the counter from that I draw from the draw 4 Kaido will be worth it. They're going to swing 5 with leader. I decide to counter out of this one. Now they're going to swing 8 into Bonney. I'm going to counter out of this one as well. I don't really want to use the 1K Jinbei counter because maybe I want to use that next turn or later to cheat out another 7 Warlord, but I decide to get rid of the Gecko. They swing and I let them get another hit and I get another Gecko, and then they play the Don Quixote do Flamingo. Now I'm not really feeling great. I have all 3 of my boas rested. I've got 2 swings this turn. Luckily that they let the Hody Jones die. If they had a ton of counter in hand, they could have gotten out of that, but they did not. If that Hody Jones survived, it probably would have been GG's. Now I'm really not sure what I should do this turn. Should I bounce back one of their characters? Should I try to use the draw 4 Kaido and just hope for more counter and stall a little bit? But Bonney's not a deck I don't think you really want to stall with because they're just going to get out some crazy big bodies too. I decided to go with the bounce back Kaido, and I send the Rosinante back to their hand, and I'm just going to pass. Another Doflamingo here will be rough, but I think they will need a blocker. They attach it down to Bonney and swing 7 at lead. This tells me they're probably going to go for game. And it also immediately tells me that they're not going to be playing another 10-drop. I'm going to counter out of this one. Now they're going to swing 7 into me again. They could have another Hody Jones. I do have the counter to get rid of it, so I think I'm going to bait it here and make it seem like I don't have the counter in hand. They're going to swing 8, and I can get out of this, and so I will. And now they've got the Dofi swing, which I'll let hit, but it is over here. I just have two 12Ks coming, then a bunch of 8Ks, and then one big leader swing if I want to. Not a lot of counter in their hand. The Hody Jones was a kind of Hail Mary play. Alright, the third game, it is tied 1-1. Who will be the victor? I'm going to play out the Sengoku. I'm considering getting the Boa, but also another 2K would be nice, and I am going to decide to go with the Trafalgar Law 2K. I do have the 3000 Swords and the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger, so I will be able to get rid of some of their board as it develops. I'm going to start out with 5000 into life. They've got the Double Searcher first turn again, and now I'm going to play out the 3-cost Doflamingo. We see a Red Rock Knight, which is nice, but besides that, not a ton else. The Gecko will be important because I'm going to be able to counter out with Proc or Law and then bring it back with Gecko. They've got 4 Dawn to work with. We might see an Arouge. Well, they're going to search first, actually, and they're going to draw an Arouge from the Bonney search, draw a Baby 5 from the Baby 5 search, and then swing 6 into my leader. This is where I will counter with Law, and then I draw the Gecko. I'm going to swing 5 into the Bonney. They're going to rest my blocker Dofi. I'm just reminding myself what they ended up picking up. I'm going to give 1 down to Sengoku and swing 3 at the Baby 5. They actually end up countering out of this, which is really surprising. Maybe they're really looking for the 10 cost Doflamingo, so since it survives, they're able to search again and they get a Viola. Now they're going to play out the Cavendish and swing 6,000 at my rested Doflamingo blocker. It is what it is. It's got to go. Now at 7 Dawn, I don't have an exact clear play I want to do. I'm going to go 5 into the Baby 5 with Gecko. Then I'm going to play out the Dofi blocker to reset my deck. I'm going to keep this at the top of my deck, even though I don't really like it, just because I want the Red Rock, because I know I'll need it. And then I'm going to 3000 Worlds the Cavendish away and get to draw a card because of my leader's ability. 6 into Gecko, I'm going to 2K out of it, and now they play the Basil Hawkins. I'm at 9 Dawn here. I don't really know what the ideal play is. I think I'm going to go Red Rock into blocker Doflamingo. Maybe I should just Dawn up on some of my characters and swing big. There, they get the free block with Hawkins. I'm going to swing with the Sengoku because I decide that I am going to go with the Red Rock turn. Using Red Rock on Hawkins might be a little bit dramatic. I think you can make the argument that maybe I should have used Gravity Blade Raging Tiger. That wouldn't leave me with enough Dawn to play out the Dofi blocker, but then I would just swing big into leader instead. In hindsight, I do kind of like that play. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I really like this set of cards. I'm going to place them back at the top. I'm going to get another Red Rock, and then I'm going to get a Boa, which is huge. They are at 10 Dawn. We could see the Don Quixote Doflamingo, but they go with Cavendish, and they're going to swing 6 into my Dofi blocker. I've got to let that go. Now they're going to play the 6-drop Bonney, and my Gecko Moria won't be able to restand. That is no big deal though, as I'm going to use the Gravity Blade Raging Tiger to bottom deck both of their characters they just played. That is So useful in this matchup. One of the MVPs of this deck for sure. I'm going to swing 8,000 into leader. They're going to rest my Doflamingo blocker, and they're going to take the hit. Now they're going 5 into Gecko. I am going to give them my only 2k in hand, which might be a little bit risky. And they play the 9-cost Zoro. Luckily, I do have the other red rock, so I'm able to play that. And I am just going to swing into life. I do have the 4-drop Jinbei, which will allow me to cheat out the Dofi blocker. I feel like I've talked about the Dofi blocker so much this game. I really have just seen them all 3 games and have been able to utilize them. I decided to place these cards at the top just because there's a decent amount of 2Ks and I'm going to need them. So I'll set the top of my deck and pass. They still have not gotten a hit on life, so I'm feeling pretty comfortable right now. I've got a pretty big board. They're going to go 5,000 into the Gecko. I will block out of that with Doflamingo blocker, and then they're going to play the 10-drop Dofi. Here I need to decide whether I want to play the 6-drop Boa or 10-cost Kaido. I decide to play the 6-drop Boa, and before I do that, I will don up on my Jinbei and swing big at leader. They take the hit. I am going to play out Boa. I bottom deck my own. I freeze the Dofi from swinging, and then I bottom deck Sengoku to draw a card. They're going to swing 5 into Jinbei, and I'm going to 2k counter out of that. They get another Doflamingo, which is pretty crazy. When you're able to chain those together, it really is so oppressive. I'm going to swing 8 with Boa Hancock. There you have 2 2Ks to answer it, and so then I'm going to play the 10-drop Kaido to draw 4. Not bad 4 cards to draw. I'm going to counter out of this hit to my Gecko. Now they're going to go 10 into my Boa Hancock. I'm going to block out of that, and then depending on what they swing with next, I may counter out of that. Just 10, I will be able to use a 3k counter. And then, believe it or not, they play another Doflamingo. If you had 3 Dofis in a row on your bingo sheet, you have just 1. I gotta let them know. That is absolutely crazy. Now I have to make a decision here. Do I want to pressure their life or try to get their Dofis off the board? I'm going to just go for life. I have plenty of life cards. I don't think they'd be able to clear my board and pressure my life in a meaningful way next turn. I'm going to go 4-drop Jinbei into Gecko. I bring back a Dofi blocker and play that out. I'm going to choose to put it at the top of my deck, but it really doesn't matter. I'm in a pretty commanding position. I'm going to attach the remaining 3 Dawn and swing 8 into their leader. If they take that, I wonder if their hand is just bricked up or if they're just a little defeated, because they do have a decent amount of cards in hand. They're going to swing 10 with a Doflamingo into my Boa. I let it go. Now they're going to swing 13 in the Kaido. I can't believe I have a 2k. I don't have a 2k to get out of this. So I'm going to block out with the Dofi blocker, but I would have loved to just play the 2k. They're going to play down the Basil Hawkins and then not even swing with one of their Doflamingos. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to go 12 with Kaido into lead. They are going to rest my Jinbei, meaning I only have 2 attacks left. They block out of that with Basil Hawkins. So now I'm just going to poke with 7 with my Gecko. They counter out of that, and then I'm just going to have one big 13k swing with my leader into theirs. That is GG's. Alright folks, that's all the games I got for you today. I had a ton of fun playing against that Bonney player. If you're out there watching, thank you for playing against me for 3 great games. If you saw anything that you think I should have done differently, if you think my deck list could use some work, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear feedback. And again, if you are interested in entering the contest for this custom Don with art from One Piece Colorwalk, all you have to do is like and comment, and if this video gets 12 likes in the first 24 hours, I will send it to one lucky commenter. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.